Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. Today, we bring back Irvine Sloan. He is the founder and co-CEO of Navigating Gray. So welcome back, Irvine.
Thank you for having me again, Wendy.
Anytime. So today's topic is a very special one close to my heart. It is leveraging the youth energy to create impact. I personally love what the youth is doing in today's society. So Irvine, could you explain what Navigating Gray is doing to leverage this?
Well, at the core of Navigating Gray, we have our co-founder, my 16-year-old daughter. Is our co-founder. She's also our chief data and social impact officer as well. We try to create an environment where youth can make a real contribution, not one that they're just interns or one that they're doing side work, one that they're doing meaningful work. And so we fundamentally believe that we're in a space around ESG and social impact and sustainability where there aren't any experts. And so we kind of take those preconceived notions of expertise, we throw them on the side of the road, and we keep moving forward with the mindset that everyone can contribute.
You know, I love the fact that you brought your daughter in who's 16 years old. My first job when I was 16, I was a file girl. I learned the alphabet really well, and I learned how to pick up phones. And that was all I was useful for. And you're teaching your daughter actually business acumen, how to be a leader, how to deal with adults, how to make decisions. That's a very important thing. That's one thing I loved about Navigating Gray when we first met a few months back. What was the spark for that? What did you say? You know what? I'm bringing my daughter in. She needs to be a leader. She needs to be brought up in this environment from the top, from the C-level, not as an intern.
I think it probably started internally for me. As I grew up, my father worked quite heavily. He worked every day for a large utility. And unfortunately, I needed a lot of time to spend with him and understand how corporate America worked. And so when I had an opportunity to leave corporate America, I told myself I want to make sure that my daughter doesn't go down that same path that I did. I think I personally struggle with confidence in certain cases where, I don't know if I'm good enough. I think it's something I can admit to. And I think that there's a lot of folks out there, whether it be, professionals or kids, who don't really know if they're good enough. Me and my daughter, we talk about it all the time. Even though you tell her you're good enough, if she's good enough, she sometimes doesn't believe it until she sees it. And so the thought process of bringing my oldest daughter on, and as well as bringing other youth on, is I want to get them in the rooms with other folks to see that other people are not flawed. They got flaws too. They're not these perfect individuals with these big titles and they know it all. I want her to see that at a very young age. Therefore, when she, hopefully gets, half my age, she'll be able to have that confidence that she is qualified, she is good enough. And so that's kind of the premise behind it. And we're, not just focusing on my daughter, but we're also focusing on other youth we have involved in the company. And they're not just interns. They are doing real work. We have real expectations of them. We have arguments. It's not all fun and games. And I think she gets to understand that at a very young age.
It's important that you teach that confidence young. I mean, we all suffer from imposter syndrome. I myself, when I would give presentations at conferences, I'd be up there thinking, who the heck am I being on this stage? Someone's going to call me out and say, you don't belong here. So that's very important that you are instilling that confidence at a young age, because that will carry her through the rest of her life. And the fact that you're actually doing this for all youth. So it's not just your daughter who's involved. You are bringing in a lot of younger people.
Yeah. We recently hired an intern, actually an intern. He's truly an intern. He's not fully part of the company yet. And he's kind of working on some of our social media strategy. We realized that social media was a driver for, engaging with the youth. It's a driver for, getting messages out around sustainability and social impact. I can tell you I'm not an expert at it, but my daughter and her friends, they are, and they really understand how to connect with the youth. And so they have this ability that I don't have, and we value that. So we look for not just my own family, look for kids outside. I also think there's a little bit of a strategy around people in the sustainability space. It can be very political in nature sometimes. I feel like the kids kind of take the edge off of things a little bit. People are a little bit more receptive to the youth. And so we recognize that as a strategy, people, allow for the kids to make mistakes. They a little bit more, have a little more leeway. And so we leverage that. We feel like it's a competitive advantage of ours.
Being allowed to make mistakes is actually very important. I was kind of brought up that you can't, and that kind of contributes to the whole imposter syndrome anxiety aspect. So letting people know that mistakes happen, which is why, with this particular show, I don't edit. I let people know that, I screw up terminology all the time. I misspeak. It happens. It's allowed. And Irving, one of the things you brought up that I loved, that you mentioned before we started, was the youth is not money driven. Not like what we were brought up with. They want to do what's right for the world.
Yeah, I think, naturally, youth probably a little more, many youth are a little bit more privileged than we were growing up. I would say that the things that youth strive for are a little bit simpler. They need a cell phone in many cases, and cell phone can give them a lot of enjoyment by itself. A lot of youth aren't necessarily running to get driver's license, get out there and explore. Many of the youth, they've eaten nice meals before in their life. They've eaten, sushi and some boba and some stuff that some of us probably have never tried in our lives. So I would say youth have grown up in a society now where they've experienced probably more than we did. And so now they're looking for something a little bit more meaningful. They're looking for connections. How do they connect to their communities? How do they, make an impact on the world? And so that's some of the things that we provide is we try to give them tangible things that they can truly make an impact on the world. And that's why they want to come work for us. And it's not just, a lot of times they talk about my 16-year-old daughter, high school students, but it's also college students.
Yeah.
I remember growing up when I graduated from Virginia Tech as an undergrad, my goal was just to make money. Quite frankly, I didn't really care where I worked. I just wanted to make money.
Yeah.
I would say if I were to ask my daughter and as well as her friends, money is important, but it's not the same. They do want to, make enough that they can enjoy life. But I think my goals were a little bit different. I was really trying to think about starting a family and some of the, kind of following the footsteps of my father. I think the youth is a little bit different this time.
You're right. I was raised, you just kind of get the corporate job, you get the house, the condo, the apartment, whatever, you just keep doing exactly what your parents did because that was the success. That was the measurement of success. And the kids that nowadays, they're like, well, I want experiences. I want to see more of the world. I want to do more things. I don't want stuff. And, stuff is actually what kind of got us into this sustainability problem to begin with. But we purchased a lot of stuff we don't need. So this generation is actually trying to fix that. They see, the damage that's been caused, and they want to change it. And with Navigating Gray, you guys are doing that by engaging the youth, bringing them at the sea level, expecting them to have the same kind of responsibilities as an adult, not a kid doing file work or answering phones.
Yeah, no, again, it's not easy.
Yeah.
There are some knockout, drag out fights sometimes where we say, hey, I need this level of quality. I need you to really own this. It's not a job. It's we're dealing with real people and people depend on you. That's something that for most of us, we didn't understand until later in life. We were, we started out our careers and we are kind of an employee. Then when you kind of transition to some of these white collar spaces, it's like you have to own it. But it's been incredibly rewarding to see, when the youth really put their mind to it. I've been on recently on a presentation. I was just floored because how prepared they were. How much detail it put in the presentation, how much knowledge that they and expertise that they could share. I'd say that they're equally as capable, but you got to be patient, right? You got to be patient to let them get up to speed, just like you were when you were younger.
Oh, and that's so important. And also you develop this maturity at a younger age, which will only excel you when you enter, the working world as an adult. But I wanted to revert back to when you talked about social media and the kids. You have these wearables. I actually grabbed mine. This is very important, just so people understand. These are a pair of glasses. As I'm taking off my regular ones. And there's a little camera in there, right in the center. And people are able to do testimonials. You can get real world testimonials from people about what sustainability means to them, what energy burden means to them. What's the importance of that? I think people really need to understand the importance of actually getting documentation like this, the data.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times the data that we have today, it's not at a stage where it's granular enough that you really can make educated decisions with. I mean, it's very high level what I'm saying. And so the concept of the wearables is to really try to make some of these concepts cooler. I mean, if you were to ask, 16 or 20-year-old kid, and I hate keep calling kids, young adult, you would ask them, would you want to go into sustainability? The answer most likely is going to be no. That most of them don't understand it, right? They've never really been exposed to this stuff. And so I would say, the wearables add kind of a cool factor to it, but it also adds a factor where we can capture information. We can not only capture like most people are capturing like surveys, right? They're capturing this quantitative data. It doesn't have a contextual base to it. Whereas we capture videos through those glasses, we capture the context. And I always say the context is where the value is. And so we're able to take the context from those videos, we kind of remove the barrier where people have to come to a stakeholder engagement meeting or to come to some place where they can, talk about, what they're struggling with or what they see in their community. We take that all away. We go to them, right? Which is much different than most people are doing. I mean, people do on occasions. They go out and troll the neighborhoods and they ask for feedback. But honestly, we do a little bit different. Again, we meet people at malls. We meet people at community centers. We meet them just wherever they're at. Our team is all over the place. And so the wearables create that cool factor that some of these topics just don't necessarily have. That's the importance of the wearables.
But also, I mean, let me just hone in on that granular data. A lot of people, when they're taking this data, it's by county or city. You're doing by zip code and individual communities and individual people. So you're really getting some very specific data that's going to build out this huge database that will let us see what trends are happening, which cities are more educated on sustainability, who's actually getting some of this renewable energy in their towns and their neighborhoods, where we're seeing the change happen. That's going to be some very, very exciting information.
Yeah, and again, the wearables and the whole concept of trying to make it, I would say, cooler, make sustainability and social impact cooler. There's some awesome aspects of gamification that we're applying to this space as well. Making it fun. We joke about, one of my kids introduced me to Pokemon Go, and I was out there trying to find these Pokemon, these imaginary creatures throughout the neighborhoods, but creating some concepts around that. How do we make it where we can gamify it, where it's actually fun, it's enjoyable, we get large community of folks on the platform. Obviously we utilize social media to market it, but we're going into a space that we're really excited about, that we don't believe it's been tested before, where we're actually making these topics fun, enjoyable, trying to get the masses in some of these communities that, quite frankly, today we don't have access to. We have access to them, but we don't go. A lot of folks don't go into those communities.
Oh, yeah, and the whole point with the gamification and making it fun is people will learn without realizing they're learning. Yeah. And when I was a kid, they tried that with a multitude of things of word association or games, flashcards, whatever. This is actually fun stuff. This is actually like a video game, but you learn through the video game. So very exciting things coming through, and something the kids all engage in. And yes, anyone under 30, I call a kid, okay? But it's how I was brought. My dad called me kiddo until I was like always did. But it is the way it's going to go. I mean, the youth today, they're not going to sit down in a classroom or sit in a library and pull out a book and read through it. They want to engage. They want to interact. They want to interact with each other worldwide.
Yeah, and I think we talk about relationships a lot and navigating gray. A lot of our socioeconomic models are built about how do you build these true impactful relationships with one another. I think one of the biggest things that, is probably keeping sustainability, social impact moving forward is the relationship piece of it. Do you really have relationships with communities? Everyone thinks they do until you go out to the community, you start asking around, and they say, we don't know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
so I think in the space of the youth, relationship building can be a challenge. A lot of youth today spend a lot of time on their phone. We do recognize that. And maybe the relationships they have, it's less in person, right? They do
Yeah.
a lot more texting. I come to find out that they don't just text through the normal SMS text. They actually text on their TikTok account or text on through their Instagram. So it's like a backdoor text system. These are all insights that you find out that it's not just normal texting that you and I may think of it as. It's texting through an app. And so, I think the communication and engaging and building relationships with young adults is different,
Yeah.
and we're embracing it. We think that's long term is a great strategy, because I fundamentally believe less and less CEOs understand how to actually engage with this next generation of employees, and so we're actively doing it today, so we can provide that insight as these folks transition into the workforce. All I can say to my fellow peers is watch out,
Oh yeah.
because they engage different, and if we don't change, right, they're going to be turned off, and maybe decide to work somewhere else.
There was an article, I forget where I read it, but basically the entire topic was what you just said. The youth entering the workforce are focused on the social responsibility of the company. Are they sustainable? Are they doing the right thing? More so than how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah.
We're really focused on doing the right thing. And we've never seen that before, to my knowledge.
Yeah. And I'm not saying they don't care about money. Don't get me wrong. They do care.
They
Right?
do care,
They
but
do care about money, but it's not the same. It's
yeah.
not the same. You see it all the time. Like, youth are staying home more often. I think I learned from some associates of mine that the average, you know, kid stays home through almost 28 years old. It's a dramatic shift. And when I was growing up, and literally when I turned 18 and I went off to college, my parents said, "Hey, yeah, I don't expect to see you here again."
Nope.
It's changed.
Yeah.
These kids are staying home, 26, 28 years old, still at home. They're moving in with their buddies, and just kind of not thinking about having kids, and buying a house and buying a car. It's not something that is important to them. And so the social stuff definitely is. They're driven by social media. They see what's going on. They have extreme amounts of visibility that we didn't have in our generation. So I always say, get with it, or get left behind.
A very valid point, actually, because the change is happening, and you can either catch up or you can get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And so that's so we'll close out with, talk about the future of navigating gray. What you expect, what can people expect from you in like the next 6-8 months?
Wow, next 6 months, it's exciting. We're probably
I know.
working around the clock, on specifically on the technology portion of it. Again, we're trying to provide a platform solution for sustainability and social impact. A lot of companies, they have bits and pieces. They have a little platform here, they have a dashboard here, but truly these are kind of interconnected ecosystems. And so we're all about building the platforms around these things, where each of the individual apps kind of work together and give you that kind of holistic solution. Working heavily with the youth. I didn't share with you, but my co-founder Sanaa, she's got three people who work for her. We've got global associates that she manages. Even at 16, she manages them. We're looking at bringing some additional youth on board during the next quarter, and they're going to be heavily involved in data
Yeah.
work. So it's actually reading ESG reports, reading different corporate sustainability reports, actually capturing the data. Actually doing some of the analysis work. So it's real work, as what we're looking at doing in the next quarter is really bolstering our technology solutions and our data. Yeah.
Yeah, an all-encompassing solution is what we need, because everybody is kind of focusing on little snippets here and there. And for the average and then that's another thing that you focus on is the general public is not going to be able to pick up a sustainability report, ESG, corporate social, whatever you want to call it, and understand it completely.
Yeah, and then funny because again, when Sanaa first got a chance, when she first came on board, we said, "Hey, I want you to kind of get acclimated to these topics. I want you to read these ESG reports." And she struggled for a while because of the verbiage, right? Some of the jargon that's used in those, some of the little cliff notes that are used on the back pages that kind of clarify things that aren't necessarily apparent to the average person. But she's got significantly better. She understands what an investment really is, although we use the word investment in many different forms in these type of reports. She really understands the difference between a financial investment versus investment in time versus investment in resources. So she's really starting to clarify some things. But it was a challenge for her. But now you can see the progression over time where she can recognize things, and she does it as her job.
Yeah.
The average individual who doesn't do his job, I feel for them. There's probably not reasonable to expect that they would even understand it. And more importantly, we're really focusing on is defining what great looks like. What does a great ESG report look like? And make it simple for the average consumer, the average employee to understand. Most employees don't even understand. They've never read their own ESG report. They don't even know what it really means to the company.
Yeah.
We're trying to do some work around that space of really making it digestible, really having an honest conversation of what a great report looks like, not what everyone else is doing, not being right there in the middle and average, if you will. We will look for greatness, and we're trying to make it simple for consumers to understand this is what great work looks like, versus, hey, you may perceive this report to be great because someone gave you an award, but in reality, when you look at totality of everything, it's pretty average.
Yeah, and people are still learning. As you said, no one's an expert right now. A lot of people claim to be, but this is a constantly evolving topic. Sustainability has been coined probably 20 years ago, but we had corporate social responsibility. We had many other terms. It's this, it's just doing the right thing and trying to put that into a report that is able to be understood by everybody is important, which is what you're doing. And people don't realize the Security and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is going to be requiring these things. It's coming.
And that's what's even more powerful about this narrative around getting youth exposed to this. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say, but I really didn't get into the stock and equity market until probably my late 30s. I didn't spend time, reading about stocks. I had no exposure to it. I probably got more exposure to it during the pandemic than any time in my life, because everyone's making money and everyone's put money in this stock, and they think they can be a day trader at that point. But truthfully, sustainability has the ability of getting people exposure to the investor side of the house. It really has an ability to give people exposure to finance, which I would say a lot of minority youth, and I would say youth in general, have no exposure to that side of corporations, the investor side, the finance side.
I didn't.
Most sustainability authors don't have exposure to the finance side. I mean, I spent time at Wharton and got to sit with several CFOs, and was quite apparent to me most people have never really stepped into that investor space. And so this is kind of getting you into the core of big business, is the investor side of the house.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think there's immense opportunities just to get people exposed to it, understanding the implications of these things, and maybe that opens the doors up to different questions around 10K statements and how companies work, how they make money, so on and so forth.
And quite honestly, sustainability will not take hold unless the financial sector's on board. Let's be honest. We need them to be on board. We need them to initiate the change. Otherwise, people aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But on that, Irvine, thank you so much for your time today and the stuff that Navigating Gray is doing. The fact that you are engaging the youth of America and worldwide to actually be part of that change. That's pretty impressive stuff you're doing. And I'm looking forward to your all-encompassing platform as well.
Yeah, I look forward to sharing it in the next few months. And thank you for your time, Wendy.
Anytime, guys. So Wendy Nystrom, Environmental Social Justice with Irving Sloan from Navigating Gray. Guys, check out Navigating Gray. It's a fantastic company. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right.